Martin, good morning, or good afternoon for you.
Well, good morning to you, Phil. Good morning, everybody. I hope you're keeping well, healthy, and safe, just like everybody else out there in these testing times.
It's great to have you here, Martin. Thanks for making the time. And the topic today is resilience in gaming. Before we dive in, for those that don't know, if you could please share a little bit about yourself and GVC.
Absolutely. My name is Martin Lycka. I have the privilege of being Director of Regulatory Affairs at GVC Holdings. GVC Holdings is one of the largest listed online and land-based gambling company in the world, currently licensed in 20 plus jurisdictions. We own a large and strong portfolio of brands, and this gives us hope and confidence that despite the current circumstances, we will come out stronger at the other end of this crisis.
Martin, and please share a little bit about GVC. You have some activity, the GVC Foundation US. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. GVC Foundation US is GVC's corporate social responsibility project, focusing on the nascent sports betting and online gaming market in the United States. We're very privileged that amongst the trustees of the foundation are Bill Pascrell, the third, a very well-known gambling advisor and lobbyist from the East Coast, as well as Amani Tuma, a former NFL star and a very, very good man who takes a very keen interest in all issues related to communities. In this case, it would be in particular responsible gambling and sports integrity. And I've had the privilege and the pleasure of running with the project on GVC's behalf. We're very excited about our existing partnerships with the likes of the Harvard Medical School, the National Council on Problem Gambling, of course, Seton Law School. Only 10, 12 days ago, we ran the very first regulatory boot camp at the premises of the Seton Law School. And also that week, we announced our latest project, this time with Epic Risk Management. And that project focuses on further educating a number of stakeholders, also decision makers, including from within the professional sports teams and colleges, about gambling and betting, responsible gambling, and sports integrity.
And you talk about responsible gaming, and that's going to fold right into our conversation today, but resilience in gaming. But let's first start with this idea growth. There's some legislation that's being pushed for around the US in regard to pushing forward with online gaming. Can you tell us a little bit more?
Yes, that's absolutely right. For those who don't know, Idea Growth is an industry trade body that has been supportive of the launch of online gaming and sports betting in the United States, including as part of the Wire Act related litigation. Very, very lately, in light of the unfortunate crisis, Idea Grove has called upon the US states to potentially expedite online gaming related legislation to deal with the impact or offset the impact of the impending crisis. The idea would be for, in particular, for those states that have already regulated or rather have already considered regulating online gaming, to speed those efforts up to protect the industry as a whole from the impact of the coronavirus related crisis. I'm supportive of that policy. Of course, it would have to be done within reason and in a very, very reasonable fashion. We definitely would not want people to abusing their time by being potentially hunkered down in their houses by betting or gaming and only doing that. There's still, don't get me wrong, there's still a lot of Netflix to watch. But the bottom line is that just like many other industries, the gambling industry is facing a crisis. People's jobs are at risk. Potentially many casinos, many racetracks have had to close for a very good reason. So this is a potential way of taking advantage of the nascent collaboration between the online and offline branches of the industry. And if I may add to that also from the responsible gambling perspective, because we have addressed the resilience bit, but being resilient, in my view, doesn't only mean that people would try to protect their revenues by any means. As I've already said, it's mainly about protecting jobs. The casino dealers, they could become live casino dealers online. But going back to my point about responsible gambling, I've heard views that expediting the legislation may unfortunately be a bad policy. And I would have to respectfully disagree with that, because on the online world offers customers who are sitting at home and may be inclined to gamble, hopefully within their means and reasonably, to explore their opportunities online. And the online sites provide additional extra information about gambling addiction, how to gamble responsibly. There are other types of tools that are available there. So at the other end of this crisis, the market can come out even stronger, even including from the responsible gambling perspective, because people will have been given a chance to learn more. People will have been given a chance to start using new online tools to channel gambling into the licensed and legitimate circuits and channels.
For iGaming, is it like sports betting in respect to if somebody wants to play online, will they find a place to play, whether it's legally through a casino or take it somewhere else, maybe somewhere that's not legal?
Well, and that indeed is what, in my view, the legislation needs to achieve. The fact that casinos are for a very good reason being closed will mean, as I've said, that people will have to stay at home, and some of them may want to gamble. And the legislation, the main objective needs to be to ensure that all these people, or a vast majority of these people, will, and at the same time is incentivized by the sufficient attractiveness of any such offer, to gamble or bet with the licensed operators that provide them with proper tools to manage their gambling behavior.
Some companies are doing a better job with online gambling than others. And what gets in the way? Is it legislation, or is it technology, or just resistance to adopt new technologies by possibly a brick and mortar? What do you think is the main obstacle?
Yeah, there is a certain element of obstinacy. Having said that, I believe that just like in Europe, even in the US, the traditional industry has seen a lot of sense in partnering up with online gambling operators, because they have realized, and for the sake of this argument, I will shunt the coronavirus crisis aside. They have realized that there is a lot of potential in the online offer. In particular, the younger generations spend a lot of time online, and they may not necessarily be prepared to drive down to their local casino and play there. And the legislation has been slowly but surely picking that up. A number of US states have already legalized both sports betting and online gambling, and there is more legislation currently in the pipeline. So definitely the crossroads, or the combination of an online and offline gambling offers, is, in my view, the future, to give people more choice, and at the same time, at the risk of sounding like a broken record, also more choice and variety in terms of tools, how they can manage their gambling responsibly.
And when we're talking about iGaming, what games are we talking about exactly? What can be offered online?
Pretty much the full suite of the existing games can be offered online, be it casino games, poker, bingo, of course, sports betting, including a large variety of market types and different sports. Of course, as things stand at the moment, sports, again, for a very, very, very good reason, let me emphasize, have come to a grinding halt. But there are other products that are available, of course, casino, poker, but also the likes of esports or virtual sports, so betting on computer-generated sports games.
So what sports can be bet right now? I mean, is there anything out there that the consumer can play?
It's not that much. Of course, for example, the NFL, and I'm a huge NFL fan, and as a Patriots fan, I've been very closely following all the recent shenanigans around Tom Brady. Don't get me wrong, I'm not switching my allegiance to the Buccaneers, but I will follow them with a very, very keen interest. So there are options like this out there. For example, the NFL draft that we have heard that at least for now it will go ahead. In terms of the more exotic markets, I'm told that, for example, the Chinese Soccer League has resumed. The Football League in Belarus is still going ahead. And in terms of less exotic places and markets, I've just read an article saying that Australian horse racing has not been asked to stop, just for now.
You know, the topic here is resilience in gaming. What is needed by the industry as a whole to take this time to be resilient, to really, we've been battered down. How do we even start to kind of get back up on our feet, even if things stay the way they are for a while now?
Well, the first thing to say is definitely a call on everybody out there to follow the guidance of their government, and if they are in no uncertain terms told to hunker down at home, please do that. It's actually borne fruit in the countries, including my home country, the Czech Republic, where stringent measures have been put in place and people have been very, very disciplined. And thanks to all that, the country is, I suppose, to some extent lucky, but also privileged and smart enough to have avoided the harshest of impacts resulting from the coronavirus. As for the industry, again, I believe that all the operators have had to make the tough choice and call to restrict their operations, close down their retail shops and land-based casinos, and this is incredibly harsh, in particular from the people's perspective, but it has definitely been the right thing to do. I can tell everybody that from my personal experience from within our business, we are doing our utmost best to keep things going as much as we can. People are connected by the likes of WhatsApp teams, many other online and electronic tools, and people are being creative, but again, being creative within reason, so that we can carry on living up to our very, very high standards of social and gambling responsibility while continuing to serve our customers.
And Martin, it's a challenge, you know, keep morale up, not only each individual, but also as a team. Is there anything that you're doing, even on a personal level, to keep positive through this?
Well, I suppose it comes down to a daily routine. It may sound even hilarious, but for example, yesterday, me and my wife decided to take advantage of the glorious sunny weather here in the UK, and we painted our garden fence. So that meant that we had some exercise. We did something very, very helpful and useful. It was even fun. At the same time, we stayed at home. Yes, we're lucky and privileged enough to have a garden, so that definitely helps. So I suppose the bottom line is that people need to keep their sanity during these very difficult and testing times. So do find something that you enjoy doing, and hopefully, to the extent you can do it outside in the fresh air to take advantage of the fact that winter's behind us, not only in the Game of Thrones terms, and that spring has come.
And how about for your team? How are you staying connected, and any hacks that you figured out how to kind of stay upbeat through this?
Luckily, we didn't really have to introduce or adopt too many hacks. We had a WhatsApp group even before the unfortunate virus crisis hit us all, and we kept in touch. So we've been taking advantage of that. People share, even in these difficult times, jokes about the current situation to keep upbeat and of sane mind. We've been exchanging recommendations as to what to watch on Netflix or Amazon Prime, but to steer towards more serious matters, we've been using the technology, also the likes of Microsoft Teams and Skype, to keep each other informed and make sure that everybody within the team and beyond, their loved ones, their families, are all healthy, well, and safe. Actually, once we're done with this very pleasant chat, I will move on to do my team's weekly team call to discuss the latest, in particular morale-wise.
And I suppose you still take time to enjoy the simple pleasures, like a cup of coffee.
Oh, absolutely, yes. Coffee is a must. My father's family have always been big coffee drinkers, and I've taken after them in that department. So I've been keeping it in check today. I've only had one today, an espresso with some brown rice milk. It's very, very tasty, if I may recommend it to the people out there. My wife happens to be Brazilian, which, as you might know, has a huge coffee culture, although in their case they drink much more sugar than coffee. So definitely well caffeinated at this end, and I intend to keep it going to the extent we still have supplies.
Yeah, Martin. Well, listen, thank you for making the time today. And before we say farewell, any final thoughts? Again, the topic is resilience in gaming. Any final thoughts to share with those listening or watching this?
Well, first of all, let me thank you again very much, Phil, for all your questions, for having me today. As I've just said, it's been very, very pleasant chat, and I hope that the folks out there who have tuned in, have enjoyed this, and at the same time that it has been helpful. I have two hopefully very simple messages. The first one is the obvious one. Please do stay healthy. Do not try to avoid the government or applying the government guidance. It's really, really, really important. No joke, no matter where you might be. And the second message is that people, even within this industry, in particular the senior people, are doing everything in their power to make sure that we will have survived this crisis and come out of the other end even stronger, and that we will be, from my perspective, able to convey the responsible gambling and sports integrity messages while offering great products to our customers, be it online or within the retail space.
Martin, thank you. Enjoy the rest of your week. Thanks for making time today.
Take very good care, Phil. Bye-bye. Thanks.